Shalom, everyone. Let me get some glare off my glasses. Um, Tonight was uh, a big night for us because tonight, hopefully, we're successfully live streaming to the Heifer Ministries live Facebook page, to my personal uh, Facebook page, and to YouTube. And I've got another piece of news. If you have the app, if you're a member of Jerusalem Temple Study, you are a gold member, which is $25 a month. Then you can download the app. Okay. And the app is now set up to where that when we go live on YouTube, there will be an alarm that sounds on your phone and you can watch it right there and it will save it there. Okay. And so we're moving forward. Now, also in the video department, Debbie has been doing these little, I guess you'd call them blogs. She did one about a week ago on shopping for Passover, and it's not very long. It's about 3 or 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And she has recorded another one. And it will probably be up by tomorrow. And she's going to be recording another one in this next week, and they can be seen on our Facebook page. And I believe they're going to be also added to the YouTube. And so we're trying to move forward. Now, one thing that we did not succeed in doing, and this is going to be my fault, we were incredibly busy the first half of the month. And we didn't even put together the Adore newsletter until then. We got the newsletters in about a week ago, not quite that long ago, and it was just too late to be able to send them out. People would get them right at Rosh Chodesh Nisan. But we're going to do our best to get out before Pesach the Nisan newsletter, and I'm going to put the Adore newsletter with it. And the reason you say, well, it's already passed, there's information in there some of you might want to keep, okay? And so if you are not getting the newsletter, you can, I forgot the address, the email address that we have set up for it, but maybe somebody can put it up in the chat where you can send. What we need is your mailing address, okay? Not your email address, not your computer address, but your email address. Now, we also have a series of people that are having very serious medical issues, okay? So tomorrow, Nick Scarpinato is going to have one of two back surgeries. It's not a major surgery, but it's dealing with the back. And so please be praying for him. Then on Monday, I think next week they'll do the second part of that surgery. And then next week on Monday at 7 o'clock in the morning, Arizona time. Okay, so Brad Gaskill is going to have, I've been saying his left eye, but I was corrected by Brad last night. It's his right eye. Okay, they're going to have to remove the eye. He has cancer behind that eye. It's attached to the eye. And the eye is already damaged beyond repair. And so it's going to be a very intense surgery. Brad said it would run maybe 10 hours. Okay, Brad and Cindy. And he'll be in the hospital for 5 days or so. Everything goes great. And we just thank God that they found it and they have the solution to it. Okay. And so we praise God for his life. All right. Now, we have Grayson Jeffords, and he has surgery coming up very soon. I spoke to him day before yesterday, and he had not received the date for it. And yesterday I was going to get back with him, but the day got away. Yesterday we were incredibly busy also. And hopefully he has the date, but sometime within the next 10 days or so, he should have surgery, which will be I believe, in North Carolina. And it will be major surgery. This will be his third operation um, since in the last 3 years. And it is a major surgery. Now, the prayer is, and we're going to pray for this, that when they open him up, the cancer's not there. The doctors have actually said that this is a possibility, that the scan is giving a false image. So join with us in praying that the cancer is not there when they open him up. In that case, they'll be able to sew him back up. It'll be about a 2-hour surgery. The other could be up to 8 hours. Okay. So these are major things. Now, I've been asking for prayer for several weeks now for Justin Hutt's family. And his mother had a stroke. And his father also has terminal stage 4, I believe it's kidney cancer. And so his sister, who's 38 years old, has cerebral palsy. She's blind and she is totally handicapped. Okay, so here's their situation is much better right now. His mother has been moved to a facility where constant 24-hour medical care. They had to get her out of the hospital, which is in Arizona, because the hospital is full of a very, very serious, nasty flu, as well as pneumonia. And if she got either the flu or pneumonia, it would be the end for her. So we praise God that first off, and I'm going to come back to a prayer request on here. Let me go ahead and because we're talking about his mother, she is not on Medicaid. She's of age to be on Medicaid, but she's not. And they were trying to get the paperwork done, and they said she has to come in directly to this office. Well, she can't. I mean, she can sit up in bed, and that's about it. Okay, and so, but the understanding is that the restrictions are going to change in a few weeks. About 2 or 3 weeks from now, they'll change and they'll be able to get the Medicaid. So be praying that she's able to get that, so that that will greatly assist in that. Now, his sister, she also had started to go down. She was in pretty bad shape. And so she has been placed in a facility, and and again, it's 24-hour care. It's in their hometown, so that for right now, his father can go and visit her, Justin can go and visit her, and she's getting the care. The care has exceeded the point that home care would work. She has to have special things at this point. And so we praise God that these things are coming together, that it was a crisis situation, but God is at least getting everything where everyone is being taken care of. But we need for everyone to continue praying. Okay, it is a very dire situation, and we all need to be praying. Now, I'd like to talk about the Pesach will be starting not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. And one of the things that if you've been walking in this for any time, you know that as we come up on the festivals, the dates, or even Purim or Hanukkah, in the world, things begin to happen. So first off, be praying for Israel, be praying for the United States, be praying for the insanity that's going on. And what I'm talking about is like the attacks on the Tesla cars and all of these things, and pray that we have stability, okay, and that God puts a hedge around us, our nation, the nation of Israel, and that He gives a protecting hen. Okay. All right. Now, what we're going to talk about tonight, we actually had begun this last week, and I'm going to bring up the slides and give me a second to get it set up. Okay. All right. Um, the As many of you know, about over a year ago, in fact, it's been over 2 years ago, that there were 5 heifers, red, that were taken from Texas, young calves, and they were taken to Israel as possible candidates for the offering of the red heifer. Okay, the slaughtering of the red heifer, not the offering. Okay. Um, Now, these cows have to reach an age. Um, you have a term in Hebrew for a calf. It's eglah. Okay. And a parah, which is a cow, is is older than 2 years and 8 days. That is considered to be a 3-year-old heifer. Okay. Now she can continue, she can become 4 years, 5 years. That's not a factor. She has to be this minimum age. However, the you want to slaughter the heifer once she reaches the age and she's meeting all the requirements. She hasn't been disqualified, because every day that goes by from that point, the chances of her becoming disqualified are going to greatly increase. So by the time they're 4 years old, most will be disqualified. 5 years old, you probably will never get one that's 5 years old. It is perfectly red. Doesn't have white hairs more than have 2 white hairs coming out of the same follicle, or have been disqualified by the many, many restrictions that are on this heifer. At this point, all of these calves are no longer calves, they're cows. And they are well past the 3-year mark, and they will be approaching the 4-year mark right about now. I can't give you the exact date, but it'll be in March or April. We're already past March. Okay. And so about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, one of the rabbis, it's Rabbi Israel Oriel's son, he is the head of the project on the red heifers, and he gave an announcement that all 5 heifers are now disqualified. Okay. Now, there is a possibility that they could requalify. They can pull the hairs, and as long as the hairs don't grow back white, then it will still pass. But I think we're actually past that point. Okay. Now, it's been a tremendous amount of talk about, well, for the Passover offering, it's not required that you have the ashes of the red heifer. Okay. Again, I want to emphasize this, and then we're going to do a little bit of review, and then we'll go into tonight's new information. First off, the red heifer is not the sacrifice of the red heifer. Okay. It is not a offering. It is not a korban. Okay. The korbanot is what the offerings in the temple are called. To be an offering, to be a korban, it must be slaughtered in the temple, in the Azarah, which is your courtyard that is right in this courtyard. You can't slaughter it here in the court of the women, or we have a massive, huge courtyard that goes around this called the outer court. It has to be slaughtered in this courtyard right here. And so it can be slaughtered anywhere in this courtyard, and also buildings that are joined to it. Okay. So there's a slaughter area here, there's a slaughter area here, and they could incorporate those. Now, on the red heifer, there are several steps. Okay, so first off, the individual bringing the heifer has the right to slaughter the heifer himself. Excuse me, not the lamb, the Passover lamb. But the blood must be applied to the altar. Okay, so for Passover, for your temple offerings, you have to have two things. You have to have the right place, and you also have to have the altar. Okay, if you're in the wrong place, you can't bring the blood to the temple and apply it to the altar. You have to slaughter it in that location. Okay. So we're going to go in here and let me share my screen. All right. Okay. Can the Pesach, meaning the Passover offering, be offered outside the Azarah? If so, why? Okay. If it can be slaughtered outside the Azarah, we're going to look to see why. Okay. But if not, why not? Okay. Now we have critical information in the first few slides. I'm going to go through these pretty quick, but this has everything to do with what we read later. Okay. So in the tractate Megillah, Megillah is the tractate that deals with scrolls, the book of Esther. And in chapter 1, it talks about a bama. A bama is a high place. Okay. Now, understand that when we talk about high places, there are two types. There are high places that were given to Hashem, to God, and there were high places that were given to pagan idols. Okay. We're not talking about the pagan idol kind. We're talking about a bama, a high place that was given to God. Okay. So there is no difference between a great altar. What is the great altar? The great altar is the altar in the Holy Temple, and a small altar. A small altar is for as a bama, okay, except for Pesach sacrifices. And then we're going to change the word to offerings. This is the general rule. What one vowed and donated freely is offered on the altar, but what is neither vowed nor donated freely is not offered on the altar. Now, we're not going to read the commentary. We just want the Mishnah on. Okay, so that was 110. Here's 111. There is no difference between Shiloh and Jerusalem, except that in Shiloh, the minor offerings and Maser Sheni, okay, that's second time. Okay, so minor offerings or peace offerings, thank offerings, Todah offerings, Bekarot, firstborn offerings, Maserot offerings, that is the tithe offerings of animals, and the Pesach, okay? In all that he sees. Now, what does that mean? That means, and there's two opinions, if you can see the Mishkan, okay, remember this is pre-temple, if you can see the Mishkan, then that is called the camp. Okay, so anywhere inside of the Mishkan in Shiloh, you are allowed to eat those animals. Now, the second opinion by Rambam was that if you were in Shiloh, period, if you could see Shiloh, then you could eat them. Now, if you've been to Shiloh, you know that the Mishkan was on the north side. There's a big hill. The tell of Shiloh is in the way. So if you're on the south side, you could not see the north side. Okay? Now, continuing with the Mishnah. And in Jerusalem, inside the wall. So what does that mean? That means inside the wall of Jerusalem. And we have a huge, I'm going to call it apartment complex that lines the walls of the Holy Temple. Okay. And it's going to be on the western wall, the northern wall, and the eastern wall. And there's a name for this. It's called Ir Hamikdash. Okay. The city of the temple. And that's within the walls of Jerusalem. So you can eat the holy offerings, the Passover, the thank offering, the peace offerings, the tithe offering, and the first fruits offering, firstborn offering. Okay. Here and there, major sanctified offerings are eaten inside here and here, not here and there. Major sanctified offerings are eaten inside the enclosures. Okay, so what does that mean? We have two categories. We have holy offerings, that's the ones we just mentioned, and most holy. They have to be eaten within the enclosures, specifically, not only within the inner courtyards, they have to be eaten within the Azarah. All right. All right. The sanctity of Shiloh is followed by permission, and the sanctity of Jerusalem is not followed by permission. We're not going to spend the time talking about that last phrase, but let's go forward. And we'll go to the tractate Zevakim. Now, Zevakim, Zavak means slaughtering. Zevakim 14:4. And this is the start of Seder Kodashim, the holy things, dealing with the temple. Before the tabernacle, the Mishkan was erected, the Bamot were permitted. Okay, so before the golden calf, the Bamot were permitted. So in the time of Abraham, in the time of Isaac, in the time of Yaakov, and in the time coming all the way up to them coming out and building the Mishkan. And the service was performed by the firstborn of each family. Once the Mishkan was erected, the Bamot were forbidden, and the service was performed by the Kohanim, the priest, sons of Aaron. The most holy offerings were eaten within the curtains, so within the curtains of the Mishkan, the lesser holy offerings throughout the camp of Israel. All right. So let's go to the next one, 14:5. When they came to Gilgal. Okay, so they've crossed the Jordan River. All right, Moses is gone. Aaron's gone. Miriam's gone. When they came to Gilgal, the Bamot were permitted. There's a reason. And it's not going to tell you here. The reason is the Holy Ark wasn't with them. Okay? And so the Holy Ark, they were defeating the Canaanites for 14 years. And so all the time it was at Gilgal, the people were allowed to use the Bamot. The most holy offerings were eaten within the curtains, the lesser holy offerings anywhere. When they came to Shiloh, the Bamot were forbidden. They'll be at Shiloh for 369 years. There was no roof, only a house of stones below and curtains above. And that constituted the menucha, the rest. That means you have reached the perfection. The most holy offerings were eaten within the curtains, the lesser holy offerings, and Maser Sheni anywhere within sight, just like what we read in Megillah. Okay, anywhere within sight. All right, so let's go forward to 14:7. Now, you know, Shiloh was burned. They moved the Mishkan to Nob, okay? And then it stays at Nob for a few years, and Saul has the priest slain by Doeg the Edomite because the high priest had given Goliath's sword and had fed the men the lakam hapanim, the showbread. Okay, and so when they came to Nob and Gibeon, the Bamot were permitted. The most holy offerings were eaten within the curtains. Now, you say, well, why? Well, the ark had been captured by the Philistines. The most holy offerings were eaten within the curtains, the lesser holy offerings in all the cities of Israel. Okay, so at that time, when the Bamot were permitted, then you could have slaughtered a Passover lamb at a bama. Okay, and you didn't have to come to Nob or Gibeon or Gilgal. You could have slaughtered wherever you lived. All right, and so let's go forward to the next one. 14:8. When they came to Jerusalem, the bamot were forbidden and were never again permitted. How about now? The bamot are not permitted now because once that this was enacted, it was enacted continually. Okay? That constituted the inheritance. The most holy offerings were eaten within the curtains, the lesser holy offerings and Maaser Sheni within the wall. Now, I want to give you a term, and so I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. If you're taking notes, you want to write this down. You have three camps, okay? So the most holy camp is the camp of the Kohanim. It's the Machane Kohanim. It's also called the Machane Shekhinah. All right, and that's the inner courtyard of the temple, right? Here, in this area. That's the only place they can be, all right? Now, the second term is the Machane Levaim, and the Machane Levaim is the Temple Mount, okay? And so then you have a third place is the Machane Israel, the camp of Israel, the camp of the priests, the camp of the Levites, the camp of Israel. And the camp of Israel is defined as anywhere within the walls of Jerusalem, including within the walls of the temple. Okay? But if you're in Jerusalem at the time of Yeshua, they had a community that were joined Jerusalem called Bethesda. And at the time of Yeshua, you could not eat a Passover lamb. In 40 Common Era, 10 years after Yeshua, Yeshua was slain and risen from the dead, King Agrippa II extended the wall of Jerusalem to include Bethesda. That's called the third wall. From that point, from the time that wall was completed, to the time that Jerusalem and the temple were destroyed, you could have a Passover lamb there. Okay? Has to be slaughtered in Azarah, but you could eat it in that location. All right. Now, I didn't show you that last slide, so we're going to, I did. Okay, we're going to go to the slides, and we're going to go forward. And so, okay, there was a lot of commentary on the slide. All right. Now, this is very important. All right. This is from the tractate Kelim. Now, Kelim is going to be from the next order after Kodashim is called Taharot, which means to purities. Okay, so within the walls, meaning the walls of Jerusalem, is more sanctified than these. For we may eat there Kodashim Kalim. Okay, that's the holy offerings. And Maaser Sheni, second tithe. Hor Habayit, the Temple Mount. It means the mountain of the house is more sanctified than this. For Zavim, okay, Zavim means a male that has a genital discharge. Zavod, a woman that has a discharge of blood or just a discharge outside the time of her period. Nidot, a woman that is in her menstrual flow, and Yoldot, a woman that has a discharge following childbirth, may not enter there. Now that's going to become important, okay? And so I want you, the Zavim, the Zavot, the Nidot, and the Yoldot, okay? Those four, you can't even go on the Temple Mount. If a woman is on the Temple Mount and she begins her menstrual cycle, she begins her flow of blood, she has to leave, okay? And so she has to leave, and then she'll go to the mikveh after all of this is stopped, and so then she can come back. Okay, the Kel. So the Kel, you've got this massive courtyard But around the inner courtyards, there's two of them. You have a platform on the outside of the buildings, and it goes all the way around. It's 10 cubits wide, and it's called the kel. It comes from the word kol, which means common, the common area of the most sanctified section of the temple. All right. For Gentiles, and one rendered impure by a corpse may not enter there. Now, here, this is the little platform right here. Let me stop sharing for a moment. The little platform, right? Well, little platform right here. You can see it. This is on the back. You see steps that are going up to it. And there's a little platform. Now, it looks very little here, okay? Because this building is 22 stories high. This gate here is 8 stories high. This altar, okay? So I want you to look at how little that altar looks. It's 19.2 feet high, okay? So you have to imagine there's a word in Hebrew that you have to imagine. It's the word gadol, and it means big. Now, there's a fence around this area. Now, give me a second. And let me see. Give me just a moment. There is a fence around this area. And so if you see right here, here's the fence. That fence doesn't look very big. Let me fix it where you can see it a lot better. Give me a second. All right. It'll take me a moment to get this set up. All right. Now, I love this projector. All right. So right here, this fence, and this is what it would look like. And look, that fence looks pretty low, but it's actually about 5 feet high. And so you see it has signs on top of it right here. Okay. This is a section of a sign that they found. It's in Greek. Here, this is a full one they found. This is what it looks like also. It's called the Sareg, okay? And here it says that if any non-Jew goes beyond this point, he's responsible for his own death, okay? Now, here, what we're told, all right. What we're told in Kelim 1:8 is non-Jews and one rendered impure by a corpse cannot go beyond this point. They cannot go past that fence. They cannot go to the hell. Okay? All right. So let's stop sharing for a moment. And we're going to go back to our slides. All right. So it says, the hell is more sanctified than this, for Gentiles and one rendered impure by a corpse may not enter there. Ezrat Nashim, okay, that's the court of the women. So right here, Ezrat Nashim is more sanctified than this, for a Tuval Yom, one impure for the night or for the day, may not enter there till he is immersed and the sun has set. but they're not liable to a sin offering for it. Ezra Israel. Oh, we are moving into the inner courtyard. The Azarah is more sanctified than this, for one lacking atonement may not enter there, and they are liable to a sin offering for it. Ezra Kohanim is more sanctified than this, for the Israelites may enter there only at a time when they're needed for laying hands, for slaughtering, and for heaving. Okay? All right, we're going to go to the next. Now, this is from the tractate Tomorrow. It's also a part of Seder Kodashim. What Tomorrow means is an offering that you are replacing with another offering. Okay, in other words, for some reason, you want to keep the original offering that you pledge, but you are going to bring another animal, and that's called a tamora. It's a replacement animal, possibly the one that you were going to give developed a blemish. You can't do it. And so there are laws on how you bring this. Now, here is a very, very important Mishnah. What we're going to see is from here, from Tractate Tamora, and we're also going to see from the Tractate Pesachim of the Mishnah, and we're also going to see from Mishneh Torah, written by Rambam. It says, there is in an individual's offering what there is not in a public offering. Okay, so I want to explain this. Our offerings are divided into two categories. Okay, and let's see. I don't see. Basically, I'll just tell you, offerings are divided into communal. Okay, so it's for the community. All right, communal offerings and personal offerings, private offerings, and individuals offering. So let me read this to you. This is from the book of Bamidbar, Numbers. And we're going to go to chapter 28 actually. And this is the core of the Torah. This is where we have all the communal offerings collected together, or the majority of them. They're called the Musafim, okay, additional offerings. And so it starts off, and the Lord spoke to Moshe, saying, command the children of Israel and say to them, my offering, the provision of my offerings made by fire for a sweet savor to me, shall you observe to offer to me in their due season. And thou shalt say to them, this is the fire offering which you shall offer to the Lord, 2 lambs in the first year without blemish, day by day, for a continual burnt offering. The 1 lamb shalt thou offer in the morning, the other lamb shalt thou offer at evening, and a 10th part of an ephah of flour, and for a meal offering, mingle with the 4th part of a hin of beaten oil. It is a continual burnt offering, which was ordained in Mount Sinai for a sweet savor, an offering made by fire to the Lord. Its drink offering shall be the 4th part of a hin for the 1 lamb. In the holy place shalt thou cause the strong drink to be poured to the Lord for a drink offering. And the other lamb shalt thou offer at evening. Now, by the way, what it says in Hebrew is Bain ha'erevim, between the evenings. Okay, so evening, I picture evening. We talk about the evening meal. We talk about, that evening just started. We picture evening as the sun is going down and the night is coming on. Okay, that's not what we're talking about here. So you have morning, which is from sun up to noon, and from noon to sundown is evening. So Bain ha'erevim is between the evenings. We have 12 hours in the day. So you have 6 hours in the morning, the shacharit, the shakar, okay? And so Bain shakar is going to be 9 o'clock in the morning, all right? And so Bain ha'erevim is 3 o'clock. It is the halfway point between noon and 6 in the evening. That is when it turns dark. Okay. So you say, wait a second, we're on daylight saving time. Forget all that. That has nothing to do with this. Okay. So we have temple hours. All right. Now, that's a communal offering. That is offered for the community, one lamb in the morning, one lamb in the evening, and it is called the tamid, okay, which means the continual or the eternal offering. Okay, we have another, the Pesach is also slaughtered at Bein HaErevim. Okay, so we got a problem. Which are you going to do? It's not like, okay, let's picture. We've got the deputy high priest. He's called the Sagan, okay? And so outside of the high priest is as high as you can go. And it's not going to be where he's like, okay, well, we've got the Tamid that God says offer at Bein HaErevim, and we got the Pesach that Hashem says to offer at Bein HaErevim. I guess we just choose which one. Don't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It was rendered by the court that the Pesach would become the preeminent on that day. So was offered on the altar at 3 o'clock. It was slain starting at 2:30. They moved the Tamid back to 1:30. 1 o'clock it was slain, and 1:30 they offered the Tamid on the temple. And this is described in the Tractate Pesachim. Okay? And so the appointed times we're going to have in chapter 28, chapter 29 is going to give you the communal offerings that are additional on the Shabbat. Okay? And so we have the communal offerings that are additional for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and Sukkot. And so it takes you through Shabbatot, and Hag HaMatzah. It takes you through all of these. Those are communal offerings. If the Sanhedrin makes a mistake, then the Sanhedrin has to come out, acknowledge the mistake, and they have to bring a communal offering. When a king, back in the days of the kingdom, there was a communal offering that was offered, and it was before the public, and so it was a public offering, even though he was an individual. Okay? And so you have communal offerings, but let's say you want to bring a peace offering. You want to bring a thank offering. You want to bring, you have to bring for something, you have to bring a sin offering. Those are personal, private offerings. So we have communal sin offerings and we have private sin offerings. So let's go back to our slide. All right. There is an individual's offering. There is in an individual's offering what there is not in a public or a communal offering. And there is in a public, a communal offering, what there is not in an individual's offering. So it's making a point of distinguishing between the two. For an individual's offering affects Tamurah, whereas a public offering does not affect Tamurah. Okay, so Tamurah is where you are substituting an offering for another offering. An individual's offering can be either a male or a female, whereas a public offering may only be a male. For an individual's offering, they are responsible both for them and for their libations. Okay? They are responsible for an individual's offering, so they have to provide the expenses. You remember when Paul had taken a Nazarite vow, Acts 21, and he has 4 men that have taken a vow also, and James, Jacob, says, do what we tell you. We want everybody to know that you're Torah observant. Take them and pay their expenses along with you. That's what it's talking about. These are the expenses. So you have to provide the animal that is required, uh, and uh, and for their libations, the bread offerings and their libations. Okay. Whereas for public offering, they are not responsible. These will be from the public treasury for the temple, either for them or for their libations. So they are responsible for their libations after the offering has been offered. All right. Now we're going to go through the notes on this. And I don't want to go into the notes till we go to break. Here's the important things. Let me recap because there's first off, we're going to find that there are exceptions that are allowed for uh, making certain types of offerings, even if you have corpse impurity, meaning you have not been sprinkled with the ashes of the red heifer. However, there are restrictions that have to be applied. Now, what is happening since the announcement came out from Rabbi Ariel, since the announcement came out that the 5 red heifers have been disqualified. And because of what I'm going to show you, that there are certain instances where a red heifer, the not having the ashes of the red heifer, that an offering can be made. Okay. There is a teaching that is spreading, and this teaching says, "Oh, we can all offer a Passover offering right now." And what they're not doing is applying any of the restrictions. Okay. So I want to go through these restrictions. I want to be careful because this is always a very sensitive issue. I want to make sure that everybody understands exactly how this fits. All right. We're going to go to break. And let me give me a second to get things set up. Okay. All right. We're back, and let me get my slides up. It'll take me just a second. Well, okay. Now, we're going to go through these. This is the commentary. Now, the commentary is very important here, and I want to make sure. Okay. So, this is tomorrow 2:1 in the commentary. There's a public offering, what there is not in an individual's offering. There is in a public offering what there is not in an individual's offering. A public offering supersedes the Sabbath and ritual impurity, whereas an individual's offering does not supersede either the Sabbath or ritual purity, Rabbi Meir said. But are not the Kohen Gadol's pancake offerings. Okay, this is offered every day. There are 10 loaves that are called the Havatim. There are 13 different bread offerings. And the Atonement Day bull offering and individual's offering, yet they supersede the Sabbath and ritual impurity. Rather, it is because their time is set. What does that mean? Rather, it is because their time is set. Okay, so we've got to talk about this. That means it's an appointed time. Now, I read the passage to you. I read Tamid. And Tamid, it says you're going to offer one offering every morning of a lamb, and it's going to be done at Bain HaErvin. But from the time that the doors of the temple are open, the inner courtyard doors, the Nicanor gate, all of that will take place, what we call Shacharit today, all of that includes the bread offering of the for the high priest, the Havatin offering. It includes on Yom Kippur the bull offering, which is a sin offering for the Kohen Gadol. But these have a category of, even though it's individual, it is according to a set time. This is required to be done at this set time. Okay? So we're going to go back, and I'm going to emphasize this over and over and over. And so let me get the slides back up. Okay, so now we're going to go to Pesachim. We're going to talk about the Passover. 5 things may be offered in uncleanness, but may not be eaten in uncleanness. Okay, now we have to define what is meant by uncleanness here. Okay, and this will go forward. You'll see it coming up in the Mishnah. Okay, these the omer. Okay, the 2 loaves. That's the shtei halakim that's offered at Shavuot. The showbread, the lakim hapanim, the public shelamim offerings, and the goats of the new moon. Now, the public shelamim offerings are going to be the 2 lambs that are slain during Shavuot, okay? And the goats of the new moon. The Korban Pesach offered in uncleanness may be eaten in uncleanness because its original purpose is only for eating. Now, you can read that 1,000 times and still not understand it. So I'm going to try to explain it. Okay? So you could be impure. Oh, but wait. It's not any type of impurity. First off, if you're a Zav, a male, and you have a genital discharge, you can't even go on the Temple Mount. Okay? or a woman in her menstrual flow, a nida. She cannot go on the Temple Mount. It's not talking about that. It's specifically talking about corpse impurity. And the one factor that you have that allows this is that these are at an appointed time. Okay? And so we'll read on. Okay, so the Korban Pesach offered in cleanliness may be eaten in uncleanness. In other words, if you have an impurity along the lines of what they say is allowed, then you can eat it. Question: could you eat it in Tel Aviv? No. Could you eat it in Ma'ale Adumim? Ma'ale Adumim is one of the suburbs of Jerusalem. No, you couldn't eat it there. You would have to be within the walls of Jerusalem in order to eat it. Okay? So we have the Korban Pesach offered in uncleanness may be eaten in uncleanness because its original purpose is only for eating. If the flesh became unclean, but the fat remained, one may not throw the blood. Okay, the blood has to be applied to the altar. If the fat became unclean, that's the halo. Okay, that is the fats that are around the organs, not the fats that you have in your arms, your legs, your muscles. If the fat became unclean and the flesh remained, one may throw the blood. And regarding the consecrated animals, it is not so. Rather, even though the flesh became unclean and the fat remained, he may throw the blood. Don't worry about this slide. Okay, let's go forward. If the community or the majority, so the majority of the people became unclean. That's where we are today. Today, all of us have corpse impurity. We have been around death. We have been in houses where people died. We've been in hospitals where there were deaths. We have corpse impurity. We've been to funerals and cemeteries, and we all have corpse impurity. There's a handful of people that don't. These are kohanim that have been kept from any type of death. These are the ones that are qualified to slay the red heifer. It says, if the community or the majority became unclean, or the kohanim, the priests were unclean, and the community clean, it may be performed. What may be performed? The slaughtering of the red heifer. It may be, the slaughtering of the Passover lamb. It may be performed in uncleanness. If the minority of the community became unclean, the clean ones observe the first, and the unclean the second. What does that mean? It's going to explain. But it means if only a handful of people were unclean, then those that were clean would observe the Passover in Nisan, the first one. But those that were unclean would observe the Passover in the month of Iyar, the second Passover. Okay, let's go forward. Now, this is the commentary. If the community or the majority of the community became unclean because of contact with the corpse. Whoa, we're talking specifically about corpse impurity. We're not talking about other impurities because of contact with the corpse, or the priests were unclean because of contact with the corpse, and the community clean, or both the community and the priests were clean, and the consecrated vessels were unclean. And this is taken from a Bereta out of the Gemara, that's the Talmud, also from Ramban, Mishneh Torah, and Biat HaMikdash. Now, we're going to read quite a bit from Biat HaMikdash. In fact, we're going to read chapter 4 and Halakha 12. If the Pesach offering, need to correct that word there, may be performed in uncleanness, and both the unclean ones and the clean ones may participate, and all of them may enter the temple courtyard, because a public offering is not divided. A breita means a ruling outside the Mishnah, a breita in the Gemara. In other words, so he's going to explain it. Since the offering of the majority is offered in a state of uncleanness, even the individual can offer in a state of uncleanness. That was according to Rashi. Okay. In other words, what Rashi said, if the majority of the community has corpse impurity and it's Pesach, then they can go past the sorag into the inner courtyards and they can offer it. According to Hamarere, since the majority offers the offering in a state of uncleanness, it would be a disgrace for the community if its clean members were to withdraw from it. In other words, you can't, if you got some people clean, then they have to go first. As has already been mentioned, this law that the Korban Pesach overrides uncleanness, permitting the community to operate in a state of uncleanness, in other words, with corpse impurity, refers only to uncleanness because of the contact with the corpse. In other words, this is the only impurity that an individual is allowed to go into the Azarah with. No other impurity. If you have any other impurity, you can't do it. It's just corpse impurity. Now, this is Hilkot Biat Hamikdash. Now, what that means is the laws on entering the temple. Okay, so this is 4:9. So this is going to be compiled. It was compiled by Moses Maimonides from the Mishnah and from the Gemara, from the Talmud. And so he collected all these together and put them together in order. Now, I use Mishneh Torah, this behind me. All of these books have their Mishneh Torah. But I go an extra step. I go and find it out of the Mishnah or I find it out of the Talmud, and I want to make sure that the translation of Mishneh Torah is not incorrect. Okay? So here's what it says. The offering of any offering that does not have a set time. Whoa, set time. So we have the appointed times of the Lord does not supersede the observance of the Shabbat or the laws of ritual impurity. The rationale is that if it is not sacrificed today or offered today, it will be offered tomorrow or afterwards. The offering of any offering that does not have a set time, whether it be a communal offering or an individual offering, supersedes the observance of the Shabbat and the laws of ritual impurity. It does not supersede all types of ritual impurity. However, only those stemming from contact with a human corpse. All the communal offerings have a fixed time when they must be offered. Hence, offering them supersedes the observance of the Shabbat and the laws of ritual impurities stemming from contact with the human corpse. All of the offerings that were brought in a state of ritual impurity are not eaten. Instead, the elements of the offering that are fit to be consumed by fire are offered on the fire of the altar. The remaining portions that would ordinarily be eaten are burnt in the same manner as our other offerings that become impure. I'm going to try to sum this up in just a moment. What is meant by saying it supersedes the laws of ritual impurity? If the time when that offering is to be offered arrives, and the majority of the people offering it were impure due to contact with a human corpse. Okay, so let's stop for a moment. That describes today. That describes today, because we have not had a red heifer to be sprinkled with, there are no ashes from anywhere that we can use. We will wait, and there will be a red heifer. But it is permitted to go in just with corpse impurity to offer that offering of the Pesach, if the majority of the people are impure, and that's the case today. Okay, so let's go back. All right. So, or the people at large were pure, but the priests offering it were impure due to contact with the human corpse. Or both of these were pure, but the temple utensils were impure due to contact with the human corpse. The offering should be offered in a state of impurity. In other words, they go ahead and offer it. Both the impure and the pure should be involved in its offering together and enter the temple courtyard. All right, now, I check this out in the Hebrew. Okay, so give me a second. I want to pull up my Mishneh Torah, if I can locate where it is. Here it is. Okay. So this is Sefer Avodah. Okay. And so here, Sefer Avodah means the the order of the service. Okay. It's going too far. All right. So I'm in Hilkot Biat Hamikdash. And I want to go to chapter 4. And we're going to go to Halakha 12. All right. Let me move some things. Okay. So here, this is 12. And you see this word right here. Let me point to it. Right here. Right there. That is La Azarah. Okay. Now, the Azarah again that's where the temple building is. That's where the altar is. And it states, both the impure and the pure should be involved in its offering together and enter the temple courtyard. Enter the Azarah. Okay. And so, let me see if I have a slide after this. All right. Those who are impure because of other reasons. Zavin. Okay. That's the male that has a genital discharge. Zavot. Women that have a discharge of blood. Women in their menstrual state. A nida. And those after childbirth. Those who come in contact with the corpse of a teeming animal or a large animal or the like should not be involved in the offering. In other words, if you have a corpse impurity from an animal, it's talking about human corpse impurity. then if you have any other impurity, you cannot go into the Azarah unless you have been sprinkled with the ashes of the red heifer. It has to be in the Azarah, where the altar is. The animal has to be slain there. The animal has to be skinned there. The blood has to be collected, and the blood has to be carried to the altar by the Kohanim, and they have to sprinkle it on the altar. The individual has to wait until all the offerings are offered. There would be the first group. They go through the choir singing, and they're dismissed. They go and stand in the outer courtyard. The second group, they slaughter their animal, their skin, the blood is passed. They take the animal and they've got it wrapped in its skin, and they take it and they stand on the kel. The third group, now it's almost dark. They have to finish by dark. It's almost dark, and the third group finishes. When it gets dark, they're going to open the gates of the temple, and then they will leave and go to start roasting the Pesach offering. On all of that, whether you have corpse impurity or don't have corpse impurity, because it is at an appointed time, it overrules the other law. Just like we have the Tamid is to be slaughtered at Bein HaErevim between the evenings. But the Pesach is to be slain at Bein HaErevim, and the Pesach overrides the daily. Okay? So we have the letter of the law. People are saying, oh, these are rabbinical. No, they're not. These are based upon the letter of the Torah. Okay? So now, let's go back to the slides. We're going to have a term coming up that people are very unaware of. And let me see where. All right. All right. So we have those that have any other impurity should not be involved in the offering and should not enter the Azarah, even those offerings are being offered in a state of impurity, even though the Pesach is being offered in a state of impurity. We're going to find that there are others besides the Pesach. It's going to give us a list here. If they transgressed and took part in the offering or entered the temple courtyard, they are liable for karet. Okay, karet means to be cut off. Now, I don't know. The term karet is usually grossly misunderstood, but it is equivalent, except more severe, is equivalent to being excommunicated out of the Catholic Church. So much so that an individual that has karet, they die and they have karet, then they cannot be buried in a Jewish cemetery. I mean, it has far-reaching implications. Okay, so we'll go back and look at the slide. Or enter the temple courtyard. They are liable for karet for entering the Azarah or death at the hand of heaven. Whoa, that expression, death at the hand of heaven, is actually one that's found in the Torah, and it means that Hashem would slay an individual. We have an example in the New Testament where we have two that died at the hand of heaven. You remember Ananias and his wife. I can't remember his wife's name. They came in and they gave an offering, but they lied. They said, oh, we sold this and we gave everything we got to all, to the offering here. And they fell dead. They fell dead because the reality was they only gave a portion of what they sold it for. They kept the rest for themselves. And so death at the hand of heaven for carrying out the service. for only the impurity stemming from contact with a human corpse was superseded by the obligation to offer these offerings. Okay. All right. We're going to stop sharing. Now, today, does that mean that we can go and march up to the temple and, everybody get on El Al, get another airline, get over to Jerusalem? And if you're Jewish, you're going to have to be Jewish to do this, to go into the inner courtyard. You should go and offer a Passover offering this next week and a half, 10 days or so from now. If you want to get shot, go ahead. Because we have a problem. We have the Dome of the Rock is sitting right on the location where the temple building was. The Dome of the Chain is basically right over where the altar was. All right? And you're going to have several things in order to be able to offer it. Okay, you can't just go to Israel and go to anywhere because the bamot are forbidden. You cannot have a private altar anywhere. It is only, has been set, only in Jerusalem, only in the Azarah, only on God's altar. So we can't do it right now. We can't do it until we regain the Temple Mount. Now, one of the things that the Temple Institute, they built a small altar, and it's according to halakha. It's a small altar. They are able to put it on the back of a truck and move it in. And so there is a claim, well, we could do it if we had the Temple Mount. We could bring this altar in and we could do it. Well, you have a problem, because if the Passover is reinstituted, if you only have a few people, a handful of people that are bringing the Passover offering, you might be able to do it that way. Okay? But I'm going to give you my opinion. I don't think it's going to work that way. I think God is going to supply a red heifer in conjunction with the Jewish people regaining the top of the Temple Mount. They might even have where they slaughter the red heifer before they gain the top. But I believe that when they gain Har Habayit, when they gain where the Temple Mount is under the sovereignty of the Jewish people, we're going to have several things that will have taken place. They will have the ashes of the red heifer. We're not going to have to follow this law that allows them to go in without the ashes of the red heifer. We have to have something more. We have to have where the people say this is something we need. We're going to have where the people realize that the temple and the services of the temple, they are exactly, I want to read to you a prayer. I'm going to show you. Second. All right. I want to show you. This is a magazine that is put out by the Israel Antiquities Authority. And you see that it's in Hebrew. In fact, the entire journal is in Hebrew. Doesn't matter where I go, you're not going to find English except in one location on the back cover. Okay. So the word that you see right here, kadmoniot, okay, here it's put in English, kadmoniot. Now I love this word, kadmoniot. I love the way it sounds. It's just one of those neat words. But we have a prayer. I'm going to read it to you first in English. It says, may it be your will. Okay, this is a prayer, always starts the same. Yehi ratzon lefaneka, Adonai, or Hashem, Elokeinu ve'Elohei avotenu, sheyi b'nei Beit HaMikdash b'himra, b'yemenu, b'tin hokenu b'torteka, b'shamna avdeka, b'rakimei olam ukshanim kad moniot. I love that word. Okay, so I was going to read to you in English first. But what I read, may it be your will, Lord our God, and God of our ancestors, that the temple be rebuilt speedily in our days, and grant us a share in your Torah, and there we will serve you. When it says there we will serve you, who's it talking about? Is it talking about an individual here that pray here or there that prays that prayer? I don't think so. I think the we here is the Jewish people at large. And there we will serve you with reverence, as in the days of old. Oh, kadmoniot, and in former years. Then the offering of Yehuda in Jerusalem will be pleasing to the Lord as in the days of old and in former years. Former years is actually the kadmoniot. That last part is ve'arba lehashem minhat Yehuda ve'Yerusalem kimei olam ukshanim kadmoniot. Okay, I believe that we will not get the temple until the people say we have to have the temple, to where that Jews, the secular Jews, are becoming observant. I believe where those that are observant, I want to read you a Passover passage from the book of Zephaniah, and it's in chapter 1. So my little instructions on how to get on Zoom and link it into Facebook and everything else. Okay, so I'm going to go here. You'll love this because it is big time Passover. We have a ceremony at Passover called Berachat Hametz, the casting out of the leaven. And so we search through the house. The mother of the house will leave 10 little pieces of leaven scattered around. Now, she's cleaned the house thoroughly. I was talking to a friend in Jerusalem today, and she was telling me that, you know, she's heavy into cleaning her house, and she's got some people coming to help her clean her house and everything. Everybody is in high gear getting ready for Passover. But chapter 1, verse 12, and it shall come to pass at that time. Anytime you see where it says at that time, it's talking about in the future, that I will search Jerusalem with lights, with candles, with lamps, and punish the men who are settled in complacency, who say in their heart, the Lord will not do good, nor will he do evil. And people today say, well, maybe one day there'll be a temple, but not in our day. Or we don't really need it. It's not necessary. We have in the Christian world, people say, oh, we don't need the temple because Yeshua is our temple, or we're the temple, and he took away all of these things. That doesn't work. You don't know your scripture. Over and over, we read in the New Testament, book of Acts. I got called today. By Daniel Lancaster from First Fruits of Zion. And his brother is a linguist, very good in Greek. Acts chapter 2. In Acts chapter 2, we have the Shavuot experience, right? And so let me find my passage. Chapter 2. Okay, verse 42, and they continue steadfastly in the Shlechim, okay, the apostles, the someone's doctrine and fellowship, in the breaking of bread, and in prayers. And let me see. Oh, wait, 46. So continuing daily with one accord in the temple. Oh, if Yeshua took away, why are they sinning by continuing to go to the temple? And these are the guys that wrote the book. We find it in Acts 21, where not only is we're told that they are to go to that they are going to the temple, but we have James, Yaakov, tells Paul, go to the temple, bring these offerings, and it's talking about the offerings of the Nazir that you find in the book of Numbers, not only for yourself, but for 4 other men, and we're decades after Yeshua, okay? So that has been one of the biggest misunderstandings, but it says, so continuing daily with one accord in the temple and breaking bread from house to house. They ate their food with gladness and simplicity of heart. Now, what Daniel told me, his brother said, is it doesn't say from house to house. It says, and breaking bread in the house. Habayit. That's the temple. And the question was, where'd they eat? Where in the temple could people eat all these offerings and the bread and so forth? We have the believers doing that. Well, that's what the Ir HaMikdash around it's like a huge apartment complex. And it lines the walls going all the way around. The temple is the Temple Mount is 35 square acres. It's gigantic. It's huge. How many places could you have for them to be able to eat together to do these things? But wait. We have in the non-Jewish world, those that believe in Yeshua, so many say, oh, we don't need the temple. God's going to change that. In the Jewish world, we have, well, maybe our grandchildren, or I'm not really observant. God's going to change that. And God's going to bring to the people the Temple Mount minus the Dome of the Rock, minus Al-Aqsa. He's going to bring a red heifer, and they won't have to go into the Azarah and slaughter a Passover lamb in a state of impurity. God will put it all together. You say, I don't see how. Well, that's the problem, is people don't believe what we're told in the scripture. We're moving very rapidly towards this. I love that we had the 5 red heifer candidates, because all of a sudden it brought up issues that people were ignoring. It brought up a reality. All of a sudden, tourists started going to Israel just to see the red heifer. Quite a start. But all of these things, first off, we have an assignment. Our assignment today is we have to do exactly what I read in the Yehi Ratzon prayer. May you return the temple and its services, and we participate in it as it was in the ancient times, not as it is in 2025, not as it is with this group does it this way and that group does. We have to learn how it was done. We have to go back and we have to piece it together and we have to see it come first here. How did the state of Israel become a reality? People say, oh, that's impossible. The Theodore Herzl, Chaim Weizmann, they believed that God was going to, Theodore Herzl at the time was a secular. In fact, I don't know if he ever turned towards God, but he believed that there would be a Jewish state. And he prophesied. He said, within 50 years, there will be a Jewish state. And lo and behold, it was. People said, you're crazy, you're insane. There isn't a way in the world that could happen. World War II. The tragedy of the Holocaust. Jews, all of a sudden, could no longer feel secure in Great Britain, which was in the hands of the Allies. But France wasn't. Germany wasn't. Czechoslovakia, Poland, Hungary, Greece. And the list goes on and on and on. And Jews were slaughtered right and left. And Jews said, we have to have a place to go. And they cried, and the world heard when they cried. I have a friend, Daron Cater. He has an organization called Cry Out for Zion. We all need to cry out for Zion. We need to cry out that today, Rabbi Glick was sitting right here, okay? There is a sign on the wall. It's a Mizrach. Here, my office is upstairs at my house. And so on our east wall, upstairs and downstairs, we have a Mizrach pointing towards the east, pointing towards where the temple was. And it says Zion on it. We saw him. The last time I saw him, he got arrested. He was going up the ramp to go into the temple, and there were all these people praying at the Kotel, the Western Wall. And he was shouting at them, you need to be up here on the mount. We're going to get a red heifer. When the people say, we, the Dome of the Rock. People ask me, what's going to happen to it? I don't know. It's not my department. God will take care of the Dome of the Rock, the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Oh, and we run, and we got all of these things. God's going to take care of it. But God is bringing the people together. For us today, we have to learn. We have to learn. We have to go in. We have to search out the scripture. We have to search out the text, the renderings of the Sanhedrin. We have to look at the archaeological evidence. We have to piece together. But the biggest thing is we have to have something happen in our heart. We have to know we believe it. People think, if you do that, you're denying Yeshua. Well, I disagree. I think that you're joining with the believers of the first century. And that today is a time that we need to move forward and be in anticipation. People, once again, I want to mention that, first off, if you are watching this on Facebook or on YouTube, please subscribe and follow us. It will help us immensely. On YouTube, I understand that the app has been upgraded, the Jerusalem Temple Study app. It's been upgraded, and you will get a notification every time we go live, and you can actually watch it right on your phone. Please be praying for Brad Gaskill, Nick Scarpinato, Grayson Jeffords. Be praying for the Justin Hotz family. There are so many things that are happening. Be especially careful at Passover. We are on the brink of a major conflict with Iran, and there could be all kinds of ramifications. And there are a lot of people in this country that are not friendly to this country. So please be careful. All right. And I'll look forward to seeing you next week. And we'll see what we can discover together. Shalom, shalom.